Why don't you smile? You got all this stuff and you look sad.
I can't smile. My face doesn't work that way anymore.
This man had everything but couldn't smile. He'd reached his darkest moment. The gun trembled in his hand. 37 floors above Manhattan, standing on the edge of his penthouse balcony, billionaire Alexander Cole stared down at the city that had made him one of the richest men in America. At 42 years old, he owned everything. Tech empire worth $8.7 billion, private jets, mansions on 3 continents, cars that cost more than most people's houses. But he couldn't smile. Not anymore. Not since the accident took that away 15 years ago. His face was frozen, paralyzed from a car crash that killed his wife and unborn child. Surgeries couldn't fix it. His expression was locked in what doctors called a permanent neutral state. No joy, no sadness, just nothing. And tonight, staring at that gun, Alexander had decided he was done. "Mr. Cole." Alexander spun around. A little boy stood in his living room, maybe 8 years old. Black kid, skinny as a rail, wearing clothes that were 3 sizes too big and held together with safety pins. Dirt smudged his face. His shoes were falling apart. "How did you get in here?" Alexander demanded, lowering the gun. "The door was open," the boy said, which was impossible. Alexander's penthouse had biometric security. "I'm hungry. Do you got any food?" Alexander should have called security, should have been terrified. But something about this kid's eyes, fearless, bright, completely unafraid, made him pause. "What's your name?" Alexander asked. Elijah Johnson." The boy stepped closer, studying Alexander's face with intense curiosity. "Why don't you smile? You got all this stuff and you look sad." "I can't smile," Alexander said quietly. "My face doesn't work that way anymore." Elijah tilted his head. "That's the saddest thing I ever heard. Everybody should be able to smile." "Well, I can't, so unless you have some miracle cure." "I do," Elijah interrupted. Alexander actually laughed, a bitter, hollow sound. "You're telling me a kid living on the streets knows how to fix what the best doctors in the world couldn't?" "The best doctors fix bodies," Elijah said seriously. "I fix hearts, and mister, your heart's more broken than your face." Alexander stood frozen, a gun in one hand, staring at this impossible child who'd somehow walked through impossible security to deliver impossible words at the exact moment he decided to end everything. "If I feed you," Alexander heard himself say, "will you tell me how to fix my heart?" Elijah grinned, the brightest, most genuine smile Alexander had seen in 15 years. "Deal." And that's when Alexander Cole realized this wasn't a random break-in. This was something else entirely. Something that would either save his life or prove that he was already too broken to save. But how did a billionaire who had everything and a homeless boy who had nothing end up changing each other's lives forever? Let me take you back to where it all began. And trust me, what you're about to hear will make you question everything you think you know about wealth, happiness, and what it really means to be alive. Before we dive in, hit that subscribe button right now. Seriously, you don't want to miss what happens next. Drop a like on this video because this story is about to shake you to your core. And comment below telling me, what's the point of having everything if you can't smile? Now let's go back to the beginning. 6 months earlier, Alexander Cole sat in his corner office on the 50th floor of Cole Industries headquarters in New York City. Through floor-to-ceiling windows, he could see the entire Manhattan skyline, a kingdom he'd built from nothing. At 42, Alexander was a legend. The son of a single black mother who'd worked 3 jobs, he'd put himself through MIT, then Stanford Business School. At 25, he'd founded Cole Technologies with $50,000 borrowed from his mother's retirement fund. Within 10 years, his software revolutionized cloud computing. Within 15, Cole Technologies was worth billions. Forbes called him the next Steve Jobs. Time magazine named him one of the most influential people in the world. But none of that mattered anymore. Because 15 years ago, on a rainy October night, a drunk driver had crossed the center line on the Pacific Coast Highway. Alexander's car flipped 3 times. His wife, Jennifer, 6 months pregnant with their first child, died on impact. Alexander survived, barely. His face was shattered. 32 surgeries over 3 years rebuilt his features, but the nerve damage was permanent. The muscles that controlled his facial expressions were destroyed. He could talk, eat, breathe, but he couldn't smile, couldn't frown, couldn't show emotion. His face was a mask. Mr. Cole, his assistant, Patricia Chen, knocked on his office door. The board meeting starts in 5 minutes. Alexander didn't turn around. Cancel it. Sir, this is the quarterly review. The board's been waiting. I said cancel it. His voice was flat, emotionless, which wasn't a choice. It was all he had. Patricia hesitated. Mr. Cole, are you okay? I'm fine, just cancel the meeting. After Patricia left, Alexander stared at his reflection in the window. At 42, he was physically fit, well-dressed, objectively handsome despite the scars hidden beneath expensive cosmetic work. But his face showed nothing. No joy, no pain, just blank neutrality. He was a ghost in an expensive suit. His phone rang. The caller ID showed Mom. Alexander ignored it. He'd been ignoring Gloria Cole's calls for 3 weeks now. She worried about him constantly, which only made him feel worse. What kind of son won't talk to his own mother? The kind who's planning to die, Alexander thought bitterly. That evening, Alexander sat alone in his penthouse, 12,000 square feet of luxury on the 37th floor of one of Manhattan's most exclusive buildings. Original art on the walls, custom furniture, a view that people paid millions just to glimpse. And he was completely, utterly alone. His phone buzzed. A text from his younger brother, David. Mom's worried, call her. Alexander deleted it. Another text, this time from his business partner, Richard. Meeting with investors tomorrow at 9. Don't bail on me. Alexander turned off his phone. He walked to his bedroom and opened the bottom drawer of his nightstand. Inside was a gun, a Glock 19 he'd purchased 6 months ago for protection. He'd never fired it, never even loaded it. Until tonight. Alexander loaded the magazine with mechanical precision. He walked out to the balcony, the gun heavy in his hand, and stared down at the city. 15 years of this. 15 years of seeing joy on other people's faces and feeling nothing. 15 years of business success that meant nothing. 15 years of waking up every morning to a face in the mirror that showed no emotion, no life, no purpose. What was the point? Jennifer was gone. Their child was gone. His ability to feel, really feel, was gone. He was just going through motions, building wealth he didn't want, achieving success that felt hollow, living a life that wasn't really living. Alexander raised the gun. Mr. Cole. The voice came from behind him, small, young, completely out of place. Alexander spun around, lowering the gun instinctively. A little black boy stood in his living room, maybe 8 years old, rail-thin, wearing clothes that were falling apart. His sneakers were held together with duct tape. His jacket was ripped, but his eyes were bright, alert, unafraid. How did you get in here? Alexander demanded. The door was open, the boy said, which was impossible. Alexander's penthouse had biometric security, cameras, alarms. No one could just walk in. That's not possible. This building has security. I know, the boy interrupted. The security guard downstairs was sleeping. The elevator man was on his phone. Your front door wasn't locked all the way. He shrugged. So I walked in. Alexander stared at him, completely thrown off. I'm hungry, the boy said. Do you got any food? I ain't eaten in 2 days. Alexander should have been calling security, should have been terrified. This was a break-in. But something about this kid, the way he stood there, completely calm, like he belonged, stopped him. What's your name? Alexander asked, setting the gun down on a nearby table. Elijah Johnson. How old are you, Elijah? 8, well, 8.5. My birthday was last month. Where are your parents? Elijah's face fell slightly. My mama died when I was 4, cancer, and my daddy, I don't know where he is, he left before I was born. Alexander felt something crack inside his chest. Who takes care of you? I take care of myself, Elijah said matter-of-factly. I've been in foster care, but I ran away. Those people weren't nice. So now I live on the streets. It's not so bad. You learn stuff, like how to tell which buildings got nice people. And you thought I was nice. Elijah looked at him seriously. I thought you were sad. Sad people are usually nice. They understand stuff. Alexander didn't know what to say to that. So can I have some food? Elijah asked again. I can work for it. I can clean stuff or wash dishes or whatever. Alexander walked to the kitchen, a massive space with marble countertops and professional-grade appliances he never used, and pulled out leftovers from a catering order. Grilled chicken, roasted vegetables, fresh bread. He plated everything and handed it to Elijah. The boy's eyes went wide. This is all for me. Yes. Instead of eating immediately, Elijah looked up at Alexander. You gonna eat too? I'm not hungry. You should eat anyway. My mama used to say eating together makes the food taste better. Despite everything, Alexander found himself getting a plate and sitting across from Elijah at the kitchen island. They ate in silence for a few minutes. Then Elijah spoke again. Why don't you smile? Alexander set down his fork. I can't. Why not? I was in an accident. My face was damaged. The nerves that control expressions don't work anymore. Elijah studied him intently. Does it hurt? No, it just is. That's real sad, Elijah said. Everybody should be able to smile. Smiling's like breathing, you need it. I've lived without it for 15 years, Alexander said quietly. That don't mean you should keep living without it. Elijah took another bite. My mama couldn't walk the last year she was alive. Cancer got in her bones, but she still smiled every day. Said smiling wasn't about your face, it was about your heart. Alexander felt emotion tighten his throat. Your mother sounds like she was a wise woman. She was the best. Elijah's voice got soft. I miss her every day. They finished eating. When Elijah was done, he carried his plate to the sink, unprompted, automatic, and washed it carefully. Thank you for the food, mister. Elijah paused. I don't know your name. Alexander Cole. Elijah's eyes widened. Cole, like Cole Technologies, like the billionaire. Yes. Wow. Elijah looked around the penthouse with new appreciation. You must be the richest person I ever met. Probably, Alexander admitted. And you still sad? Yes. Elijah walked closer, studying Alexander's face. Can I tell you something? Go ahead. I think the reason you can't smile is because you forgot how to be happy. Your face is broke, yeah, but your heart's more broke. And until you fix your heart, your face don't matter. Alexander stared at this 8-year-old child, who'd somehow articulated what 15 years of therapy couldn't. How do I fix my heart? Alexander heard himself ask. Elijah grinned, the brightest, most genuine smile Alexander had seen in years. That's easy. You find something worth smiling about. I have everything, Alexander said. Money, success, power. If those things can't make me happy, what will? Those ain't the things that make people happy, Elijah said seriously. My mama had nothing. We lived in a one-room apartment. Sometimes we didn't have food, but she was happy because she had me and I had her. That's what made her smile. Connection, Alexander whispered. What? You're talking about connection, about love. Yeah, Elijah said. That's the stuff that matters, not money, not big houses, people. Love, having somebody who needs you and somebody you need back. They stood in silence. I should go, Elijah said finally. Thank you for the food, Mr. Alexander. Wait, Alexander didn't know what he was doing, but he couldn't let this kid walk back out into the cold. Where will you sleep tonight? I got a spot under the bridge by the park. It's not so bad. It's December. It's freezing outside. Elijah shrugged. I got a blanket. Alexander made a decision that surprised even himself. Stay here tonight. The guest room has a bed. You can shower, get warm, sleep somewhere safe. Elijah looked suspicious. Why would you do that? Because, Alexander said slowly, I think maybe you showing up here tonight wasn't an accident. You mean like fate? Something like that. Elijah considered this. Okay, but just for one night, I don't want to be a burden. Alexander showed Elijah to the guest room, a space bigger than most apartments, with a king-sized bed, private bathroom, and windows overlooking the city. Elijah's jaw dropped. This is the guest room. Yes. Man, rich people live different. Alexander found himself almost smiling. Almost. After Elijah showered and got into bed wearing clean clothes Alexander had provided, the boy called out from across the hall. Mr. Alexander. Yes. Thank you for the food, for the bed, for being nice. You're welcome, Elijah. Mr. Alexander. Yes. Tomorrow, can I help you? Help me what? Help you find something worth smiling about. Alexander stood in the doorway, looking at this child who'd somehow walked through impossible security, interrupted his suicide, and offered something no one had offered in 15 years. Hope. Yes, Alexander said quietly, I'd like that. That night, Alexander didn't think about the gun. He didn't think about Jennifer. He didn't think about his frozen face or his empty life. He thought about a little boy who believed that everyone deserved to smile. And for the first time in 15 years, Alexander Cole fell asleep without dreading tomorrow. But what Alexander didn't know was that Elijah wasn't just a random homeless kid. He had a secret, a gift. Some people would say that would change everything. And when the world found out what was really happening in that penthouse, Alexander's life would never be the same. Stay with me, because this is where things get really interesting. Alexander woke to the smell of cooking. For a moment he thought he was dreaming. No one had cooked in his penthouse since Jennifer died. The kitchen was a showpiece, not a place where actual food happened. He walked out to find Elijah standing on a chair at the stove, scrambling eggs with intense concentration. Toast was browning. Coffee was brewing. You know how to cook? Alexander asked. Elijah jumped, nearly dropping the spatula. My mama taught me before she died. She said a man who can cook will never go hungry. He looked nervous. I hope it's okay I used your stuff. I wanted to say thank you for letting me stay. Alexander sat at the kitchen island. It's more than okay. Elijah plated the eggs, perfectly fluffy, seasoned with pepper and a hint of cheese, and brought them over with the toast and coffee. They ate together, and Alexander realized he couldn't remember the last time breakfast hadn't been eaten alone at his desk while reviewing reports. Mr. Alexander, Elijah said, can I ask you something? Why were you holding that gun last night? Alexander froze, his fork halfway to his mouth. I ain't stupid, Elijah continued. I seen that look before. My mama's sister, my Aunt Regina, she had that same look right before she tried to hurt herself. You were gonna do something bad, weren't you? Alexander set down his fork. He could lie, should lie. But those bright, knowing eyes made lying impossible. Yes, he admitted quietly. Because you can't smile. Because I can't feel anything anymore, Elijah. The smile is just a symptom. Inside, I'm empty. Elijah nodded slowly. My mama said that when people give up, it's because they lost their purpose. She said everybody needs a reason to wake up. What was your mother's reason? Me, Elijah said simply. Even when she was real sick, she said I was her reason. She said as long as I needed her, she had to keep going. His voice dropped. Then she died and I didn't have nobody, and for a while I thought about giving up too. Alexander felt something twist in his chest. What stopped you? I made her a promise. Right before she died, she made me promise I'd help people. She said that's how she'd live on through the good I did. So even when things got real bad, I remembered that promise. He looked up at Alexander. Maybe you need a promise too. I don't have anyone to promise. You got me, Elijah said. Promise me you won't hurt yourself. Promise me you'll let me help you find your reason. Alexander stared at this 8-year-old child, offering him a lifeline. Okay, he whispered, I promise. Elijah grinned. Good, now finish your eggs, we got work to do. Work? Yeah, if we're gonna fix your heart, we gotta go where the real stuff happens. Not up here in this fancy place. Down there. He pointed out the window at the city below, where real people live. An hour later, Alexander found himself doing something he hadn't done in years. Walking through Manhattan without a destination, without a plan, following an 8-year-old kid who navigated the streets like he owned them. Where are we going? Alexander asked. You'll see. They walked for 20 minutes until they reached a part of the city Alexander rarely visited, the Lower East Side, where buildings were older, grittier, where people weren't dressed in business suits and designer labels. Elijah stopped in front of a small community center. The sign read, Hope House Community Services. This is where I used to come with my mama, Elijah explained. They help people who don't got nothing, feed 'em, give 'em clothes, help 'em find jobs and stuff. Inside, the center was bustling. Families lined up at a food bank. Kids played in a supervised play area. Adults sat at computers typing resumes. The walls were covered with artwork, motivational posters, photos of smiling faces. An older black woman approached them, maybe 60, with gray hair and warm eyes. Elijah, baby, is that you? Hi, Miss Caroline, Elijah hugged her. We haven't seen you in months. Are you okay? Where are you staying? I'm okay, and this is my friend Mr. Alexander. He's gonna help. Caroline looked at Alexander with polite curiosity. Help with what, sweetheart? He's gonna volunteer, Elijah announced. Alexander blinked. I am. You said you wanted to find something worth smiling about, Elijah said. This is how you start. You help people. You make their lives better, and that makes you feel good. Caroline studied Alexander more carefully. Have we met before? I don't think so. You look familiar. Then her eyes widened. Wait, you're Alexander Cole, Cole Technologies. Yes. The billionaire. Yes. Caroline's expression shifted, not quite hostile but definitely cooler. What's a man like you doing in a place like this? Looking for a photo op, some good PR? No, Alexander said firmly. I'm looking for a reason to keep living. The honesty clearly surprised her. Caroline's expression softened. All right then, we can always use help. Can you cook? Not really. Can you organize donations? I can learn. Can you talk to people? Really talk to them, not at them. Alexander hesitated. I can try. Caroline nodded. That's all I ask, come on. Alexander spent the next 6 hours doing things he'd never done. Sorting donated clothes, serving lunch to homeless families, helping a teenager format a resume, listening to a single mother explain why she needed help paying for her daughter's asthma medication. It was exhausting, overwhelming, humbling. And something inside him started to shift. Around 4 p.m., an older man came in, white, maybe 70, with a weathered face and trembling hands. He approached the food line. I'm sorry to bother y'all, the man said softly. I was wondering if you had anything hot. I haven't eaten since yesterday. Alexander, working the serving line, plated a generous portion of chicken, vegetables, and rice. Here you go, sir. The man's eyes filled with tears. Thank you, God bless you. As the man walked away, Caroline appeared beside Alexander. That's Robert. He's a Vietnam veteran. Lost everything after his wife died, house, savings, everything. Now he lives in his car. How does that happen? Alexander asked. Lots of ways, Caroline said. Medical bills, addiction, mental illness, bad luck. The thing people don't realize is that most folks are just one or two disasters away from poverty, one serious illness, one job loss, one bad break. Alexander watched Robert sit alone at a table, eating slowly, savoring every bite. "I have more money than I could spend in 10 lifetimes," Alexander said quietly, "and that man is grateful for a plate of chicken." "Money ain't everything," Elijah said, appearing beside them, "but it can do a lot of good if you use it right." Alexander looked down at the boy. "Is this why you brought me here, to show me that?" "Kinda," Elijah admitted. "But mostly I brought you here because helping people is the fastest way to stop feeling sorry for yourself." Caroline laughed. "This kid's got wisdom beyond his years." "Tell me about it," Alexander muttered. That evening, as they walked back to the penthouse, Alexander's mind was racing. "Elijah," he said, "how much does it cost to run that community center?" "I don't know. Why?" "Because I want to help, really help, not just volunteer for a day. I want to make a difference." Elijah stopped walking and looked up at him. "You mean that?" "Yes." "Then don't just give him money, Mr. Alexander. Give him you. Money's easy for you. But time, attention, showing up, that's the real gift." Alexander crouched down to Elijah's level. "When did you get so smart?" "I told you my mama taught me good." Then Elijah's expression turned serious. "Can I tell you something? Something real important?" "Of course." "I wasn't supposed to find you last night." "What do you mean?" "I mean, I don't know how to explain it, but sometimes I get these feelings, like something's pushing me to go somewhere or talk to someone. And last night I felt like I had to get to that building, had to get to the 37th floor, had to walk through that door." Alexander felt chills run down his spine. "You're saying you were guided there?" "Maybe, or maybe it was just luck. But my mama used to say there's no such thing as coincidence. She said when something impossible happens, it's because it's meant to be." "Do you believe that?" Elijah shrugged. "I believe I found you right when you needed somebody, and you found me right when I needed somebody. That ain't nothing." Alexander stood up slowly. "No, that's not nothing at all." Over the next 2 weeks, Alexander's life transformed in ways he couldn't have imagined. He started going to Hope House every day, not as a donor or a benefactor, but as a volunteer. He served food. He listened to stories. He helped people fill out job applications and housing forms. And Elijah was with him every step of the way. The boy had moved into the guest room temporarily, though both of them knew it was becoming permanent. Alexander enrolled Elijah in school, bought him new clothes, made sure he had breakfast every morning and dinner every night. But more than that, they talked. Elijah told Alexander about his mother, how she'd worked as a nurse, how she'd sung hymns while cooking dinner, how she'd read to him every night even when she was too weak to get out of bed. Alexander told Elijah about Jennifer, how they'd met in college, how she'd believed in his business when no one else did, how losing her had broken something inside him that he'd never been able to fix. "You still love her," Elijah observed one night. "Always will." "That's good. My mama said love don't die just because people do. It changes, but it don't go away." "Your mother was right about a lot of things." "She was right about everything," Elijah said proudly. Alexander found himself almost smiling again. Almost. Then came the day that changed everything. Alexander was at Hope House, helping organize a donation drive when his phone rang. His brother, David. "Alex, where the hell have you been? You've missed 3 board meetings. Richard is freaking out. Mom's worried sick." "I've been busy." "Busy? Busy doing what? The company needs you." Alexander looked around at the people in the community center, families getting food, kids doing homework, adults learning job skills. "I've been helping people who actually need it," Alexander said. "What are you talking about?" "I'm talking about the fact that I've spent 15 years building wealth and 0 time doing anything meaningful with it. That changes now." "Alex, are you having some kind of breakdown?" No, David, I'm having a breakthrough. He hung up. That evening, Alexander called an emergency board meeting at Cole Technologies. The board members filed in, confused and irritated. "Thank you for coming," Alexander began. "I'll make this brief. Effective immediately, I'm implementing a new initiative. Cole Technologies will be donating 30% of annual profits to community organizations serving underprivileged populations." Silence. Then chaos. 30%. Richard, his business partner, looked apoplectic. "That's hundreds of millions of dollars." "Yes." "Shareholders will revolt. Then they can sell their shares." "Alexander, this is insane." "No," Alexander interrupted, his voice hard. "What's insane is being worth $8.7 billion while people sleep on the streets. What's insane is building an empire and having no one to share it with. What's insane is being so rich that I forgot what actually matters." "And what matters?" another board member asked sarcastically. "People," Alexander said simply. "Connection, purpose, making sure that the resources I've been blessed with actually help someone besides myself." "This is career suicide," Richard warned. "Maybe," Alexander agreed, "but I've been dead inside for 15 years. At least this way, some good will come from my life." He walked out, leaving the board in stunned silence. News of Alexander's decision spread like wildfire. Billionaire's breakdown. Cole Technologies CEO announces massive charity initiative. Has Alexander Cole lost his mind? SHARHOLDRS panic. Aztec CEO pledges hundreds of millions to charity. Some called him a saint, others called him insane. Stock prices fluctuated wildly. Alexander didn't care. For the first time in 15 years, he felt alive. "You really did it," Elijah said, reading the news on Alexander's tablet. "I really did. People are saying you're crazy." "What do you think?" Elijah considered this seriously. "I think you're finally doing what you should have done a long time ago. I think you're finding your purpose." Alexander looked at this child, who'd somehow become the most important person in his life. "Elijah," he said carefully, "I want to ask you something." "Okay. What if you didn't have to go back to foster care? What if you stayed here with me permanently?" Elijah's eyes went wide. "You mean like adoption?" "Yes, I want to adopt you. I want you to be my son." Tears filled Elijah's eyes. "For real?" "For real." Elijah threw his arms around Alexander's waist, sobbing. "My mama said she'd send me an angel if I ever needed help. I think she sent me you." Alexander felt his own eyes burning. "I think she sent you to me." They held each other, two broken people who'd found wholeness in the most unexpected place. But that night, something impossible happened. Alexander was getting ready for bed when he felt something strange, a tingling sensation in his face, like pins and needles but deeper, electric. He rushed to the bathroom mirror and stared. His reflection was moving. Just slightly, just barely, but the muscles in his face, dormant for 15 years, were twitching, responding. "Elijah," Alexander called out. The boy came running. "What's wrong?" "Look at my face." Elijah stared. "What am I looking at?" Alexander concentrated, trying to move the muscles, trying to force them to work. Nothing happened. "Never mind," Alexander said. "I thought, never mind." But that night, lying in bed, Alexander touched his face with trembling fingers. Something was happening, something impossible. And deep inside, he knew it had everything to do with the little boy sleeping in the room across the hall. The boy who might not be as ordinary as he seemed. And when Alexander discovered Elijah's true secret, the real reason he'd appeared that night, everything would make sense. The impossible security breach, the perfect timing, the wisdom beyond his years. Elijah Johnson wasn't just a homeless kid. He was something else entirely. 3 weeks after Elijah moved in, Alexander woke up smiling. Not metaphorically, not almost. Actually smiling. He rushed to the bathroom mirror and stared at his reflection in shock. The right corner of his mouth was curved upward, just slightly, just barely, but it was there. Movement, expression, life. After 15 years of paralysis, his face was waking up. "That's impossible," Alexander whispered. He'd seen the best neurologists in the world. They'd all said the same thing. The nerve damage was permanent, irreversible. No amount of therapy or medication would fix it. And yet here he was, smiling. Alexander walked to Elijah's room. The boy was still asleep, curled up under blankets, looking peaceful. Alexander studied him in the dim morning light. "Who are you really?" Alexander thought. At breakfast, Elijah noticed immediately. "Mr. Alexander, your face moved." "I know. How is that possible?" "I don't know." Elijah jumped up and down excitedly. "It's working. It's really working." "What's working?" Elijah stopped, looking suddenly nervous. Nothing, I just mean, I'm happy for you." Alexander sat down, studying the boy carefully. "Elijah, tell me the truth. What's happening to me?" "You're getting better." "Doctors said I'd never get better." "Doctors don't know everything." "Elijah." The boy fidgeted, not meeting Alexander's eyes. "Can we talk about this later? I'm gonna be late for school." Before Alexander could press further, Elijah grabbed his backpack and headed for the door. "Elijah, wait. I'll see you after school. Love you." And he was gone. "Love you." The words hit Alexander like a physical blow. In the chaos of the past few weeks, he hadn't fully processed what was happening. This child, this incredible, impossible child, loved him. And Alexander realized with startling clarity, he loved Elijah too. That afternoon, Alexander received a call from Dr. Morrison, the neurologist who treated him after the accident. "Mr. Cole, I heard something extraordinary and I need to see you immediately." "What did you hear?" "That your facial paralysis is revering. Is that true?" "Yes." Silence. "Then, that's medically impossible." "And yet it's happening." "I need to examine you. Today, can you come in?" 2 hours later, Alexander sat in Dr. Morrison's office while the doctor conducted a thorough examination, testing reflexes, measuring muscle response, running electrical stimulation tests. Finally, Dr. Morrison sat back, looking shaken. "Mr. Cole, I don't know how to explain this. Your facial nerves are regenerating. New neural pathways are forming. It's as if your body is healing itself." "Is that possible?" "No, the type of damage you sustain doesn't heal. Certainly not after 15 years. This violates everything we know about neurology." "Then how do you explain it?" Dr. Morrison shook his head. "I can't. The only thing I can tell you is that something extraordinary is happening. Keep doing whatever you're doing." As Alexander left the doctor's office, his mind raced. Whatever you're doing. What was he doing differently? The charity work, the volunteering, the connection with people. Or was it something else? Someone else? Elijah. That evening, Alexander made a decision. He hired a private investigator. "I need you to find everything you can about a boy named Elijah Johnson," Alexander explained. 8 years old. Mother died 4 years ago. Father unknown. Was in foster care briefly but ran away. The investigator, a sharp woman named Rebecca Torres, took notes. "What exactly are you looking for?" "Anything unusual, anything that doesn't add up." Rebecca studied him. "Mr. Cole, are you sure you want to do this? Sometimes mysteries are better left alone. I need to understand who he really is." "All right, give me a week." Meanwhile, Alexander's transformation continued, both physically and spiritually. His facial movements improved daily. A week after the first smile, he could raise both eyebrows. 2 weeks later, he could frown. 3 weeks later, he laughed, actually laughed, at one of Elijah's jokes, and the sound was so foreign that both of them froze. "Did you just laugh?" Elijah whispered. "I think so." Elijah started crying. "Your face is coming back." They hugged, both of them overwhelmed by the impossible miracle happening in real time. But the changes weren't just physical. Alexander restructured his entire life around purpose instead of profit. He cut his work hours in half and spent afternoons at Hope House. He started a mentorship program connecting successful professionals with at-risk youth. He funded scholarships, community centers, job training programs. The business world thought he was insane. Alexander had never been more sane. A month after Elijah moved in, Rebecca called. "Mr. Cole, we need to meet, in person." She arrived at the penthouse that evening, carrying a thick folder. Her expression was troubled. "What did you find?" Alexander asked. Rebecca opened the folder. Elijah Johnson's birth certificate lists his mother as Melody Johnson, age 24. She was a nurse at Mount Sinai Hospital, died of pancreatic cancer when Elijah was 4. Father is listed as unknown. "That matches what he told me." "Here's where it gets strange," Rebecca continued. After his mother died, Elijah was placed with his mother's sister, Regina Johnson, but Regina struggled with mental health issues and substance abuse. She lost custody, and Elijah entered foster care. He said foster care was bad. It was. He was placed with 3 different families over 2 years. There were reports of neglect, nothing actionable but bad situations. Then 6 months ago, Elijah disappeared from the system, just vanished. He ran away. That's what I thought too. But here's the thing, Rebecca pulled out another document. Multiple people reported seeing Elijah during those 6 months. A teacher at an elementary school said a boy matching his description showed up, helped a child who was being bullied, then disappeared. A woman at a homeless shelter said Elijah appeared one night, calmed down a suicidal veteran, then left. A paramedic reported that Elijah was at an accident scene, comforting victims until help arrived. Alexander frowned. So he was moving around, helping people. It's more than that. Every single person described the same thing. Elijah appeared exactly when someone needed help desperately, and after he helped them, things improved dramatically. The bullied kid became confident. The veteran got his life together. Accident victims recovered faster than expected. You're saying he's some kind of, what, angel? Rebecca looked uncomfortable. I'm saying there's a pattern. Everywhere Elijah goes, impossible things happen. Good things, healing things. Alexander felt chills. What about his mother? Did you find anything about her? Rebecca pulled out a photo, a woman with Elijah's eyes and bright smile. Melody Johnson was beloved at the hospital. Patients said she had healing hands, that her presence made people feel better. There were rumors that people recovered faster when she was their nurse. Rumors. Mr. Cole, I don't believe in magic or miracles, but I do believe in patterns. And the pattern here is clear. This child is connected to impossible healings, including yours. After Rebecca left, Alexander sat in silence, staring at Elijah's school photo on the mantel. Who are you? That night, Alexander waited until Elijah was asleep, then quietly entered his room. The boy slept peacefully, clutching a stuffed bear Alexander had bought him. On the nightstand was a photograph, Elijah and his mother, both smiling at the camera. Next to it was a worn notebook. Alexander knew he shouldn't, but he needed answers. He opened the notebook. Inside, in careful child's handwriting, were entries dated over the past 2 years. July 15 found Mr. Peters under the bridge. He was real sad. I stayed with him and talked about hope. The next day, he went to a shelter. August 3 met a lady named Sarah at the park. She was crying because she lost her job. I told her things would get better. 2 weeks later, I saw her again. She got a new job. September 20 helped a man named Carlos who was sick. Held his hand and prayed like Mama taught me. He said he felt better. Page after page of entries, dozens of people. hundreds of small miracles. And then the most recent entry. November 8, Mama came to me in a dream. She said there's a man who needs help real bad, a man who forgot how to smile. She said I need to find him on the 37th floor. She said he's the one I've been waiting for, the one who will help me help lots of people. November 9, I found him. His name is Mr. Alexander. He was gonna hurt himself, but I stopped him. Mama was right, he needs me. And I think I need him too. I prayed for him like Mama taught me. Ask God to heal his heart. Ask God to fix his face. I hope it works. Alexander's hands trembled as he read. Elijah had known from the very beginning. He'd been sent somehow impossibly to save Alexander's life. And in doing so, had unleashed something extraordinary. Alexander closed the notebook carefully and looked at the sleeping child. "Thank you," he whispered. The next morning, Alexander woke Elijah gently. "Hey buddy, we need to talk." Elijah rubbed his eyes. "Am I in trouble?" "No, but I need you to be honest with me about something." Fear flickered across Elijah's face. "About what?" "About why you really came to find me that night." Elijah looked down at his hands. "You read my notebook." "Yes, I'm sorry, but Elijah," Alexander knelt beside the bed, "you need to tell me the truth. What's happening to me? Why is my face healing?" Tears filled Elijah's eyes. "You're gonna think I'm crazy." "I won't, I promise." Elijah took a shaky breath. "My mama had a gift. She could help people heal, not like a doctor, like something else, something special. She said it came from faith and love combined, and before she died, she passed it to me." "Passed it to you how?" "She held my hands and prayed, told me I'd have the same gift, that I should use it to help people who were broken, people who lost hope." He looked up at Alexander with tears streaming down his face. "She said someday I'd meet someone special, someone who needed healing so bad that it would take everything I had, and that person would help me do even bigger things." "And you think I'm that person?" "I don't think, I know. My mama told me in a dream. She described you exactly, the tall man with the frozen face and broken heart on the 37th floor. She said you'd be standing on a balcony with a gun, and I had to stop you." Alexander felt his own eyes filling with tears. "Elijah, how did you get through my security?" "I don't know, I walked toward your building and every door opened. Every guard looked away. It was like something was pushing me forward, making a path. And my face, you're healing me." "I pray for you every night," Elijah admitted. "Like my mama taught me. I put my hands on your door and ask God to fix what's broken, to give you back your smile, to help you feel love again." Alexander pulled the boy into a fierce hug. "It's working. You're healing me, Elijah. You saved my life." They held each other, both crying. "Are you mad?" Elijah asked, his voice muffled against Alexander's shoulder. "Mad? Why would I be mad?" "Because I didn't tell you. Because I've been keeping secrets." Alexander pulled back, looking at the boy seriously. "Listen to me. You are the best thing that ever happened to me. Whatever you are, whatever gift you have, it doesn't change how I feel about you. You're my son. Do you understand? Even though I'm not normal." "Elijah, normal is overrated. You are extraordinary, and I am so proud to be your father." Fresh tears streamed down Elijah's face. "Really? Really?" Over the next month, Alexander's face continued to heal until, impossibly, it was fully restored. He could smile, laugh, frown, show every emotion that had been locked away for 15 years. The medical community was baffled. Dr. Morrison published a case study calling it spontaneous neural regeneration of unknown origin. Reporters tried to interview Alexander, but he refused all requests. Some things were too sacred to explain. The adoption was finalized on a cold January morning. Alexander Cole officially became Elijah Johnson's father. They celebrated at Hope House, surrounded by the community they'd been serving together. "Speech," someone called out. Alexander stood, Elijah beside him, and looked around at the faces, people he'd come to know and love over the past months. 6 months ago, Alexander began, I was the richest man in this room and the poorest man in the world. I had everything money could buy and nothing that actually mattered. I was standing on a balcony, ready to end my life, when a little boy walked through impossible doors to save me. He looked down at Elijah. This kid taught me that wealth isn't measured in dollars. It's measured in connections, in purpose, in love. He taught me that the best investment I can make isn't in stocks or real estate, it's in people, in making someone else's life better. He paused, his voice thick with emotion. Elijah lost his mother too young. I lost my wife too young. We were both broken, both alone, but together we found something neither of us had any more: family. Alexander smiled, a real, genuine, impossible smile. So today, I'm not just adopting a son. I'm committing to a different kind of life. A life where success is measured by how many people you help, not how much money you make. Where happiness comes from giving, not getting. Where a smile isn't just an expression, it's a reflection of a life well lived. The room erupted in applause. Caroline approached them afterward, tears in her eyes. You know what the best part is? You're teaching Elijah too. Teaching him that his gift isn't just about healing bodies, it's about healing souls. He already knew that, Alexander said, ruffling Elijah's hair. He's the smartest person I know. That night, tucking Elijah into bed, Alexander sat on the edge of the mattress. Hey, Eli. Yeah, Dad. The word still made Alexander's heart skip. Do you miss your mom? Every day, Elijah said softly, but I think she'd be happy. She always wanted me to have a family again. I think she'd be very proud of you. Dad. Yeah. Can I tell you something? Anything. When I pray now, I don't just pray for other people. I pray thank you because God gave me you. His eyes filled with tears. I prayed for a dad for so long, and then I found you. Alexander felt his chest tighten with emotion. I prayed for a reason to live, and I found you. Looks like God answered both our prayers. Yeah, Elijah whispered. He's pretty good at that. After Elijah fell asleep, Alexander stood at the window, looking out at the city. The same view he'd seen that night 6 months ago when he'd held a gun and contemplated ending everything. His phone buzzed. A text from David. Mom wants to have dinner next week. Can you come? She's dying to see Eli again. Alexander smiled, easily, naturally, joyfully, and typed back, wouldn't miss it. Another text, this time from Richard. Board meeting Tuesday. New charity initiative proposals. Your foundation is changing lives, man. Proud of you. More text, more connections, more life. And then one more notification. An email from Dr. Morrison. Mr. Cole, I wanted you to know that your case has inspired new research into neural regeneration. We don't understand what happened to you, but we're studying it. Maybe someday we'll be able to help others the way you were helped. Thank you for letting us learn from your miracle. Alexander looked at Elijah's door, thinking about the incredible child sleeping inside. Some miracles couldn't be explained by science. Some things happened because love was stronger than logic, because faith moved mountains, because sometimes, just sometimes, the universe conspired to save someone who'd given up. He'd been a billionaire who had everything but couldn't smile. Now he was a father who'd lost everything that didn't matter and gained everything that did. The money was still there, the company was still there, but they were tools now, not gods, ways to help, not ways to hide. Alexander pulled out his phone and opened his notes app. He began typing. Things I'm grateful for. 1. Second chances. 2. A son who taught me how to live. 3. A smile that means something. 4. Purpose that matters. 5. Love that heals. He paused, then added one more line. 6. Being saved by an 8-year-old angel with wisdom beyond his years, and a gift beyond comprehension. Alexander saved the note and set down his phone. Outside, the city glittered with millions of lights, millions of stories, millions of struggles, millions of opportunities to help. And for the first time in 15 years, Alexander Cole was excited about tomorrow. Because tomorrow he'd wake up next to his son. He'd have breakfast together. They'd go to Hope House and serve people who needed help. He'd use his wealth to change lives, his time to build connections, his smile to spread joy. And every day, he'd remember the lesson Elijah taught him. You can have everything and have nothing, or you can have nothing and have everything. It all depends on what you choose to value. Alexander chose love. And that made all the difference. 5 years later. Dad, I got accepted. 13-year-old Elijah burst through the door of their penthouse, still the same one, though now filled with photos, memories, and life, waving an envelope. Alexander looked up from his laptop, where he'd been reviewing proposals for the Cole Foundation's latest initiative. Accepted to what? The summer medical program at Mount Sinai, the one my mom used to work at. Alexander stood and grabbed his son, taller now, but still with those same bright, knowing eyes, in a bear hug. That's incredible. I'm so proud of you. They said my essay about combining medicine with compassion was the best they'd ever read. Elijah's face glowed with pride. I wrote about Mom, about what she taught me. Both your moms would be proud, Alexander said softly. They'd visited Jennifer's grave together last month, Elijah's idea. He'd brought flowers and told her all about his life, his school, his plans to become a doctor. Alexander had cried, but they were good tears, healing tears. Oh, Elijah added, and the foundation just got another donation. Guess how much? How much? $5 million. Anonymous donor said they read about our work and wanted to help. Alexander smiled, the smile that came easily now, naturally, without effort. That's the 4th anonymous donation this year. I know. It's like people are finally understanding what you've been saying, that money means nothing unless you use it to help. Over the past 5 years, the Cole Foundation had transformed from a single community center initiative into a nationwide network. They'd funded 47 community centers, provided scholarships to 500 students, created job training programs that helped 10,000 people find employment, and funded medical research into neural regeneration that was on the verge of major breakthroughs. Alexander's personal wealth had actually grown despite donating hundreds of millions. Turns out that companies with strong ethical foundations and social missions attracted better talent, more loyalty, and stronger growth. But more importantly, he'd built something money couldn't buy: purpose. Dad, Elijah said, his tone shifting, can I talk to you about something? Always. You know how I've been volunteering at the Children's Hospital? Of course. Well, I've been doing more than just volunteering. I've been using my gift, helping kids heal, not just physically but emotionally. Lots of them are scared or sad or giving up, and I can help them find hope again. Alexander sat down on the couch. Elijah joined him. The thing is, Elijah continued, I'm getting stronger. The gift is growing, and I think, he paused, searching for words, I think maybe this is what I'm supposed to do with my life, not just become a doctor but become a healer, like my mom was. Have you been praying about it? Alexander asked. Over the years, they'd learned to honor Elijah's spiritual gifts without trying to explain or limit them. Every night, and I keep getting the same answer: use the gift but be smart about it. Don't make it a spectacle. Just help people quietly, one at a time, the way Jesus did. Alexander felt his throat tighten with emotion. His 13-year-old son had more wisdom than most people gained in a lifetime. Then that's what you should do, Alexander said. I'll support you however I can. Even if people think I'm crazy. Even if doctors say what I'm doing is impossible. Eli, I was impossible. My healing was medically unexplainable, but it was real. If you can give that gift to others, you should. Elijah hugged him fiercely. I love you, Dad. I love you too, son. That evening they had dinner with Gloria, Alexander's mother, and David, Alexander's brother. Both had moved to New York to be closer to Alexander and Elijah. So, Gloria said, smiling at her grandson, I heard about Mount Sinai. Your grandfather would have been so proud. He always said you reminded him of your mother, both your mothers. I wish I could have met him, Elijah said. He would have loved you, Gloria said, almost as much as he would have loved seeing what you did for my stubborn son here. She squeezed Alexander's hand. You gave me my boy back. He gave me my life back, Alexander corrected. We saved each other. After dinner, Alexander and Elijah stood on the balcony, the same balcony where everything had changed 5 years ago. Do you ever think about that night, Elijah asked, when I first found you? Every day, Alexander admitted. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if I hadn't come? Alexander looked at his son, this miraculous child who'd appeared at the exact moment he needed saving. I don't wonder. I know exactly what would have happened. I wouldn't be here. And all the lives we've touched, all the people we've helped, all the good we've done, none of it would have happened. So it wasn't just me saving you, Elijah said slowly. It was you saving lots of other people by being alive. That's how it works, Eli. One act of compassion creates ripples. Your mom saved people, which gave her joy, which gave you purpose, which saved me, which allowed us to help thousands of others. It's all connected. Like a web. Exactly like a web. And you're at the center of it, connecting all of us together. Elijah leaned against the railing, looking out at the city. You know what the coolest part is? What? 5 years ago, you thought money was everything. And now you know it's just a tool. But the really cool part is that you figured out how to use that tool for good. You didn't have to give away your money. You chose to. And that choice, that's what makes you rich. Alexander put his arm around his son's shoulders. You know what, Eli? You're absolutely right. I used to be a billionaire who had everything but couldn't smile. Now I'm just a dad who has a son, a purpose, and a reason to wake up every morning. And you can smile, Elijah added. And I can smile, Alexander agreed, demonstrating with a huge grin. They stood together in comfortable silence, watching the sun set over Manhattan. Dad. Yeah, buddy. Thanks for not giving up that night. Thanks for giving me a chance. Elijah, Alexander said seriously, you gave me more than a chance. You gave me everything that actually matters. You taught me that wealth isn't money, it's love. That success isn't power, it's purpose. That a smile isn't just an expression, it's proof that you're truly alive. That's some deep stuff, Elijah said with a grin. I learned from the best. Your mom or my mom? Both, Alexander said, and from a wise 8-year-old who walked through impossible doors to save a man who'd forgotten how to live. As the last rays of sunlight painted the sky orange and gold, Alexander Cole, billionaire, philanthropist, and most importantly, father, realized that he'd finally found what he'd been searching for his entire life. Not wealth, not success, not even the ability to smile. He'd found meaning. And in finding meaning, he'd found everything. The moral of this story: the richest person isn't the one with the most money, it's the one with the most reasons to smile. True wealth is measured in love, purpose, and the lives you touch. Sometimes it takes losing everything to realize what actually matters. And sometimes the most impossible miracles come from the smallest, most unexpected places. If this story touched you, hit that subscribe button and share it with someone who needs to remember that no matter how broken they feel, healing is possible. Love is possible. Second chances are real. And sometimes, salvation comes in the form of a child with wisdom beyond his years and a heart bigger than the sky. Thank you for watching. Now go out there and find your Elijah or be someone else's, because we're all both the broken and the healer. We all need saving, and we all have something to give. God bless you. See you in the next video.